Cultural Aspects of Learning by Annabel Wilson, the University of New England. Introduction. I met Lillian during my first year of teaching, when I was teaching 6th grade reading and social studies. Lillian was born in the United States, however her parents moved to Spain before her first birthday. Both Lillian's parents are Caucasian, non-Spanish citizens. Lillian attended the local township school until she was in 3rd grade. At this point Lillian received all her schooling instruction in Spanish. And at this point Lillian was fluent in Spanish, but was not fluent in English. Challenges faced by Lillian. When Lillian's parents decided to return home to the US, she commenced schooling in my current school district. During the 4th grade, Lillian was provided with ELL services, as it became clear that Lillian's English proficiency was significantly behind her peers due to her prior Spanish schooling. When Lillian entered my 6th grade classroom, her English proficiency had improved significantly. Lillian was a quiet but kind student whom had many friends amongst her peers. Lillian's quiet nature could sometimes lead people to underestimate how much she understood. Lillian's language growth over the next 2 years of schooling demonstrates her competence. While Lillian was still behind 6th grade standards, she no longer needed intensive ELL intervention. Rather than receiving support multiple times a week, Lillian now worked with our school district ELL instructor once a week for a 30-minute time period. Unique literacy considerations for Spanish-speaking ELLs. While reflecting upon initial challenges that Lillian faced in my classroom, I made a strong connection to a discussion post written by one of my peers, Ana Lorena Alvarez. In her reply to my initial discussion post, Alvarez spoke about her Spanish background and the challenges that Spanish ELL students encounter when it comes to learning English. I was really intrigued to learn that the Spanish language is learned to read via syllables, and that Spanish vowels have one sound each. Lorena Alvarez commented that Spanish-speaking ELL students often encounter challenges with English phonetic acquisition, as they are accustomed to decoding single sounds, rather than vowel patterns and consonant patterns. Alvarez also noted that it is important to consider the types of literacy assessments that are administered to beginning ELL students, as many phonetic-based assessments might be considerably more challenging for Spanish-speaking ELLs. Further research into phonetic instruction. After reflecting upon the ideas presented by my classmate, Lorena Alvarez, I wish to conduct further research into the topic of phonetic instruction for ELL learners. I felt as Lillian received her early literacy instruction in Spanish, my understanding of the phonetic differences between English and Spanish was important to the development of meaningful ELL instruction. Elizabeth M. Kissling from the University of Richmond wrote the following article, Phonetic Instruction Improve Learners' Perception of L2 Sounds. In an effort to discuss the importance of targeted phonetic instruction in ELL instruction, Kissling noted that many ELL students are often very self-conscious of their pronunciation of the English language. As perception and pronunciation in English language learning are strongly linked, Kissling states that it is important for instructors to support ELL students with explicit instruction on not only the acoustic features of the L2 system, but also instruction that promotes a rich awareness of L1 phonetic features. In an effort to meet Lillian's specific ELL literacy needs, I plan on providing literacy instruction that includes explicit phonetic instruction, targeting L1 and L2 phonemic awareness. While I do not have a Spanish language background, I believe that it would be important for me to seek out instructional resources for literacy development to be supported in the classroom, for Spanish literacy development to be supported in the classroom. I believe I could source such resources from my district ELL and Spanish instructor. During small group instruction, I plan on providing instruction that addresses the following components of phonemic development: explanation of grapheme phoneme correspondences, an explanation of place and manner of articulation, with an animated diagram illustrating how each sound is produced, and an explanation of the differences in articulation of Spanish and English words. Other cultural considerations. Parent-school communication. While Lillian's parents are native English speakers, I thought that it would be important to include planned action for a situation where parental figures are not proficient in English. I consider parent involvement and support to be a huge component of the success of any student, ELL or non-ELL. According to authors Lisa Hoffman, Sifta Punjuka-Hussain, and Susan Ridgell, in their article, Stop Stuffing the Backpacks, Parents of English Language Learners Share Homeschooling Communication Preferences. Parents of ELL students face many additional challenges in school communication and participation if they are not proficient in reading English or the cultural norms of a school. In schools today, homeschool communication can come through many modalities, from paper newsletters, phone calls, Class Dojo, Remind, and classroom blogs and other digital formats. Hoffman et al. Conducted a survey investigating the types, academic or parenting skills, and the modality of communication that parents of English language learners preferred to receive. The results of the survey indicated that more Spanish-speaking than English-speaking parents wished to have more information on how they could help their child at home. Two of the most requested areas of support included assistance with reading and support on learning English at home. 79% of parents indicated that they would prefer to receive communication in a paper format or through in-person workshops or information sessions. Implications and planned action. After reflecting upon studies conducted by Hoffman et al., I believe that it would be helpful for me to reach out to all parents at the beginning of the school year, asking them about their own parent-school communication preferences. As Lillian is the only ELL student in my class and her parents are native English speakers, my action plan included a follow-up phone call to discuss specific communication preferences. As our school district has a very small ELL population and very few Spanish-speaking ELLs, I believe that it would also be important to discuss the continued growth of her Spanish language skills. As her general English instructor, I wish to explain the connection that exists between a proficient understanding of phonetic patterns present in the Spanish language and an ELL's ability to acquire an understanding of English phonetic patterns. During this conversation, I could discuss the value of supporting both Spanish and English language growth at home. Recommendations. In conclusion, the nature of the Spanish language, specifically its phonetic differences to English, require careful consideration when planning ELL instruction. As perception and pronunciation in language learning are strongly linked, Kissling states that it is important for instructors to support Spanish ELL students with explicit instruction on not only the acoustic features of the L2 system, but also instruction that promotes a rich awareness of L1 phonemic awareness. Such targeted vocabulary instruction can be provided explicitly through small group work, as well as implicitly through a classroom environment that utilizes Spanish-English vocabulary. Parent communication is also another area that I believe is very important to the success of a Spanish ELL. Not all parents and guardians of Spanish-English language learners are proficient in English, and it is important to establish communication methods that can support as many family members as possible. Hoffman et al. Also found that physical paper letters and in-person information sessions were often preferred by English language learner families. After reflecting upon this evidence, I believe it is important to use a range of communication methods to meet the needs of all families. Thank you for listening to my presentation.